the largest East Asian economy: Taiwan, Korea, Hong Kong, Singapore, and China. In 1968, Taiwan and Korea have an average of patents of 400, 281 in Hong Kong. That compared, for instance, with France and the UK, 2,000, 2,400. So 6 times less innovation. Can you see that? "30 years later, patents in Taiwan for 400 to 3,000, almost 4,000. For 260 to almost 3,000 in Korea. France and the UK, it also increased, but by comparison, much less. Actually, you can see that now they are at the same level. This is about closing the technological gap. In 30 years, countries in East Asia are at the same level of technological innovation that countries in Europe. And that's part of the miracle. It's not just about economic growth. And if we look at the success rate, I mean, there are two ways to measure innovation. One is how many patents are produced, and the second one is how many succeed, how many are still working and are profitable. Among 56% of patents in Korea are successful. This is a very high rate. Almost 50% in Taiwan. Again, same rate that in the UK. It's not only about innovation, but also about developing the business model that allows that innovation to be successful. And also in that sense, East Asia's economy caught up with Europe and the USA. Actually, Korea is more successful than the USA. Okay, so we have an economic dimension with continued growth for almost 30 years. We have a technological dimension to the miracle, with those countries catching up with the most developed countries in the world. But there is also a social miracle. Life expectancy increased from 56 years in 1960 to 71 in 1920. So, in other countries, it rose from 50 to 65 in other middle-income economies. So it's 6 years more than the average in similar countries. The percentage of people living in poverty, it dropped in average from 40% to 20%. While Brazil, which started with a much better level of economic development, it only dropped to 21%. Still, there is 21% of poverty in Brazil. Look at this graph of population living in poverty in different regions. By 2015, there is only going to be 1.6% population living in poverty in the main economies and the miracle. That compared to 25% in India, or 37, 1 in 3 in sub-Saharan Africa. And still better than Latin America and the Middle East. Okay. So, that means that in these countries, there has been an increase in equality as well. They grew, but the increase in income became less concentrated and more equalitarian. Less poor people, less difference between rich and poor. So So the inequality gap between high income sector and lower income sector is lower than in the Eurozone. There are much more equal societies. So was that a miracle? For many years there has been discussion on whether that was a miracle or not. As always, there are different points of view, and particularly the East Asian crisis created doubts on the miracle. So they have some, they say there is little miraculous about the superior rigor of growth. It's largely to accumulation of physical and human capital. So basically, those populations work longer hours and got support from foreign sources. All that Asia had done was to save heavily and invest well. So it's about countries being having austerity, so spending within their means and being wise in terms of investment. Investing in developing their industries. But Stiglitz highlights the point that we have seen. No other set of countries have managed to save at such rates and invest the funds well, creating continued growth and decreasing inequality along 3 decades. That's the key difference. Continuity. 30 years with growth and decreased inequality. So what is unique about the miracle, and we talk about a miracle because there is this combination of sustained growth with highly equal income distribution. So it's growth and equality growing together, which goes against the trend. In the USA, in Europe, there has been growth, but there have been an increase in inequality. So that's what we talk about a miracle. So, any doubts so far?
Well, actually,
yeah.
Because I thought like these countries like China were one of the countries with the most difference between high salary and low salary. So, well, I just thought I don't have any like anything to support my point, but I guess
No, well, as I say, China is not typical from the miracle.
right.
It's very, very clear. The miracle is South Korea, Hong Kong, Taiwan, and Singapore. Those are the 4 main countries of the miracle, and that's when we talk in the analysis of the miracle. China, we will see that it took some element, but still China has been decreasing inequality. But the growth of China is only in the last 15 years. When we talk about 30 years, we are talking basically about those small countries that we call the first wave. And you see that when I mention here examples, it's about South Korea, Taiwan. I'm not comparing with China. China is different. China evolved from a different type of regime. It was a communist regime. And it was, for a starter, it was a situation in which there was much less inequality because it was a communist regime. So in the transition from a command economy to a more open market economy, there was a sharp increase in inequality. But then inequality has been reduced. But it's still the main challenge for China. But this is not about China. That's what I want to say. This is not about China and it's not about Japan. And that's where I always highlight, 1965 to 1990. So what happened in that period? There were external factors. Clearly, there was a situation of international politics in which those countries, Hong Kong, South Korea, Singapore, they were considered of strategical interest against communist countries. And there was also trade and economic patterns in the global economy in which there was an increase on consumption and demand in the USA and in Europe. So there were markets looking for low-priced products. And there is also regional integration. Those countries work together. First, second, and third wave, they work together in what is called the flying G's paradigm, and we will see what is that. But then, so there were conditions, regional conditions and world economy conditions that helped to have a miracle. In particular, a very strong support from the USA and the UK. But there were also structural factors. The population in those countries were declining, contrary to what was happening in Latin America or Africa. And they all have strong and very well organized bureaucracies. Bureaucracies that were very efficient and well